And if you've been following developments here on DW, you would have heard about the Hamas attack on the music festival near the Gaza border, where at least 260 people were killed.
Go out 1 or 2 minutes before other people started to get shot at.
And what happened once you got out?
Once we go out, luckily I drove west and not towards Tel Aviv, where there was ambushes by the terrorists.
Hundred people held hostage inside a theater in the heart of the city. Police stormed that facility. Those individuals inside were killed. A French television station saying that the hostage takers were armed with explosives, in many cases throwing grenades. There were a series of attacks in other parts of the area, in other parts of Paris, I should say. About 7 in total. 3 explosions at the French National Stadium, where the French national team was playing a friendly match against Germany.
More than 50 people have been wounded in twin bomb attacks in southern Thailand. The blasts happened in Patani. The first bomb was planted in a motorcycle at a car park. The second blew up in front of a busy supermarket. Police believe the bomber fled the scene before the explosions. The city's deputy police chief has blamed the attacks on Muslim insurgents.
In all, there have been 11 bombings across 5 provinces since Thursday. At least 4 people have been killed and 34 wounded.
There is insecurity in their neighborhoods. That is why they are here. And they don't want to go back to their neighborhoods because if they go back, they will be killed by the Muslims. Most of them are Christians.
Ça c'est l'église?
Oui, c'est l'église. Ils ont voté cette porte.
A recent attack on a church and a pastor's residence left 30 dead and over 130 injured.
We came here on a diversity visa, actually, to the United States back in 2010. Killed 8 people yesterday, injured another 11 after he rented a truck from a Home Depot in New Jersey, drove it into the city, and then moved up onto a bike path and plowed into pedestrians and bikers just going about their day, exercising, maybe sightseeing, killing 8 people.
Struck the United States over the weekend with 3 attacks in New York City, New Jersey, and Minnesota. Dozens of people were injured, but no one was killed. The incidents have put the nation on edge.
Somali attacker who made references to Allah stabbed and wounded 9 people inside a mall in Minnesota. The attacker, who was shot dead by an off-duty police officer, asked at least one victim if they were Muslim. Shortly after the blast, police sniper dogs uncovered a second bomb nearby, a pressure cooker with wiring attached. Pressure cookers were used in the 2 bombs detonated at the Boston Marathon in 2013.
Two people are dead tonight in Ottawa, a Canadian soldier and a suspect, after a shooting on Parliament Hill, Canada's equivalent of Capitol Hill. A violent morning that culminated in a shootout inside the ornate building where lawmakers were caucusing.
I look across the street and there's a man with a rifle shooting at a bunch of people.
Witnesses at the memorial say the gunman then hijacked a car.
Now involve intense visible security. That level hasn't changed even after high-profile incidents like the U-Haul attack in Edmonton, the thwarted ISIS attack in Strathroy, Ontario.
Adrian Nell was in Mozambique building an accommodation block with his father and younger brother, but he was killed on Friday as they tried to make their escape from a hotel under attack by suspected Islamist insurgents. News of his death reached the rest of his family in South Africa a day later. Nearly 200 civilians were sheltering inside the hotel in the town of Palma after militants surrounded the compound. Helicopters could be heard circling above, but a convoy of cars was deemed the only route out. In total, 7 were killed when it was ambushed and dozens more in the town itself.
So when we're seeing the bombings in Madrid and we're seeing the bombings in the running over of people in Barcelona not that long ago, it's simply classical pre-Islamic Arabian warfare. That's what they're doing. And when they use daggers and they use swords, that's what their Prophet Muhammad used and those around him. They're just imitating what their prophet and his generals did. In Baghdad, he said, Harold, you're missing the point of ISIS. And what they're appealing to the very soul of our Muslim soul. How are they doing that? They say that the whole world must be Muslim, and eventually it will be. They must be under a caliph, which is one who takes the place of their prophet Muhammad, and under the Sharia, which is the Muslim law. First they take over small places, and they're very quiet, and when they reach critical mass, then they start making demands. What we are witnessing is the Islamification of Europe. The Russians, Putin understands this very, very well, and understands that he's in an internal battle against Islamic orthodoxy that wants to take over his world. And the Chinese have the same problem in northwestern China, in a place called Xinjiang, which was conquered by Islam in the 1100s, and so therefore, again, just like in Spain, is Islamic territory forever. By the way, that's the same story in Israel.
And now they try to expand into places like Copenhagen or Sweden. What do they feel is their patrimony?
The world. It works this way. From a Muslim point of view, and this, I'm giving you Sharia, this is Islamic holy law. The only territorial divisions that exist from a Muslim holy law point of view are the world of Islam, Dar al-Islam in Arabic, and Dar al-Harb, and the world of war, or the world that eventually will be Muslim. There is no such thing as a permanent peace between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. Bygones are not bygones. Eventually, you may have a temporary truce. That's what Muhammad did in 628, a place called Hudaybiyah, where he was weak, and he made a truce with his enemies for 10 years. The 10 years ended in 2 years when he was strong enough to continue the war. There is an eternal battle between the Islamic world and the non-Islamic world. So Europe is part of the non-Islamic world, which is in the process of becoming part of the Muslim world.
But in parts of France, it has become especially dangerous to be white. There are little Muslim caliphates inside the borders of France. The name of the mosque is in Arabic, so perhaps the French don't realize they're paying to renovate a mosque named Conquest. So this is like another country inside France, yeah?
Yeah.
This French report says almost 1 in 5 Frenchmen have been victims of racist insults or worse.
His mother said she had to take her daughter out of the public school and send her to a private one. The anti-Semitic hostility from classmates eventually became too much.
The attackers are generally young Muslims.
Verbal and physical abuse, even assaults.
The French people are increasingly living in fear. They fear the imposition of Islamic law and the organized violence against any French person, including the police.
It's not the only issue that's out there. I want to talk about another one, and this is one that you might not expect would be an issue here in Germany. That is child marriage. There's a proposal now to ban marriages of young girls and children. Isn't this already illegal in the country? I was very surprised to hear this.
Well, the legal age for marriage in Germany is 18. What is clear is that the number of child marriages has definitely gone up over the last year with the arrival of so many people from the Middle East. So it is a concern, but it's not a huge issue. Perhaps 1,000 cases of child marriage in Germany, some say.
My parents actually didn't want me to adjust to the Austrian culture where I was living, because for them the culture was evil. Girls having sex before marriage, that was something that only the infidels do. This is what my father taught me. And I actually was promised to my cousin when I was a small baby, and with 16 I should marry him, and we went to holiday to Pakistan, and there they forced me to marry the cousin.
Ja, und seit Silvester trage ich halt dieses Messer immer mit mir rum, um mich sicherer zu fühlen. Ja.
Vanessa is one of the 1,200 women across Germany who were sexually assaulted or harassed last New Year's Eve.
This is a story you won't hear from the mainstream media. The grave consequences of haphazard migrant policies playing out in Western schoolyards. Syrian migrant students throwing rocks at their Canadian peers, beating up the girls in their classrooms, uttering death threats to teachers who don't believe in Allah. It's time we have a conversation in this country. It's time we stop ignoring children who are being beaten and threatened at a place where they should feel safe. It's time we stop making exceptions for abuse against Canadian girls just because their perpetrators are from a particular part of the world. And it's time we stop allowing political correctness to put our children in harm's way.
Hvad er egentlig målet for jer? Hvor ender det her hen, tror du?
Jamen, målet er, at islam, det skal være dominans. Altså selve lovgivningen skal være dominans. Og det er målet for os her.
Så I kan i virkeligheden gøre det bedre, end politiet gør?
Ja, og det er sådan, at muslimerne her, de har forkastet det danske retssystem, og de vil gerne have noget alternativ, noget de har mere tiltro til, og det er igen islam.
Tror du, at det kan sprede sig, sharia, sådan over hele Danmark? Tror du det?
Men det er sådan, at sharia skal spredes. Fordi Gud han siger, at hans religion, den skal være dominans. Den skal dominere over alt andet styresystem. Det er derfor sharia, den skal spredes. Vi har folk i Odense, vi har folk i Aarhus, vi har folk rundt omkring i København, og vi ved, at den vil spredes. I første omgang tager vi Tingbjerg, og derfor vil vi ekspandere til andre muslimske boliger.
The Quran, which incidentally, if you read, demonstrates Islam is a peaceful and harmonious religion.
Islam is a religion of peace.
Islam is a religion of peace.
Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
A suspect is in custody after a mass stabbing. 3 people died from their wounds and at least 5 others were seriously injured. Police say they're investigating a possible Islamist terror motive. Witnesses said the man shouted the Islamic phrase Allahu Akbar.
And throughout history, Islam has demonstrated through words and deeds the possibilities of religious tolerance and racial equality.